This is a flip video about sig figs when multiplying and dividing. So in some of your calculations, you're going to have to take measurements and multiply or divide them together. Once you're done multiplying and dividing them, you're going to have to apply the Sig Fig Rule. So the Sig Fig Rule for multiplying and dividing is that the answer must have the same number of sig figs as the measurement with the fewest counted sig figs. That's important to emphasize. So take a second and underline that, counted sig figs. So you have to be very careful because this is not the same rule. Careful. This is not the same rule as adding and subtracting. So it's a different rule compared to adding and subtracting. Multiplying and dividing, we actually are going to do total counted sig figs. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's dive into an example. See here, example 1. Okay, so here are my two measurements, 2 centimeters and 5.0 centimeters, right? So for right now, let's just ignore our answer. Let me fold that back for you. Ignore that. Okay, that's a measurement and that's a measurement. You want to make sure that you recognize that this is multiplication, not addition, not subtraction. So new rule. I'm going to look at my total measurement, total, and say in this total measurement, there's only one significant digit. So I apply my Sig Fig rules. How about in here? Total, significant, and significant. Remember, a trailing zero is significant when there's a decimal anywhere present in the number. So there are 2 total sig figs. So what I'd like for you to do when we do these problems is to write your total number of sig figs up on the top, seen here in a circle. So go ahead and write those in. And remind yourself that I'm looking for those. Shows me your work. Also remember, look, these are measurements, they have units on them. So now I ask myself, which one's the least? Well, this has a total of 1, a total of 2. So 1 is the least counted. Remember, I'm looking at the entire number, not places after the decimal only. Total number. So 5 times 2 gives me 10, but I want to reflect it with 1 sig fig, right? 1 sig fig. So 10 with no decimal is 1 sig fig. So 10 centimeters is my answer. Okay, let's do another one. Here is my second example, and again, I'm just going to fold back the answer for right now. Don't cheat. All right, here we are. 3.5 meters is my first measurement. Great. Here's my second measurement, 6.33 meters, right? Clearly, I used 2 different pieces of equipment. This one gives me 2 sig figs. This one gives me 3 sig figs. Again, notice you're multiplying. You're not adding and subtracting. In adding and subtracting, I would look at places after the decimal, but that's not what we're doing. Remember, you need to be careful not to confuse the 2 rules, right? You have to be careful. So what are we doing? We're counting total. Start from the beginning and count. 1, 2 sig figs, 1, 2, 3 sig figs. Remember, all non-zero digits are significant. 2 has the least amount, right? Remember, least total that I counted. So my answer needs to then have only 2 sig figs. So I look here at my pre-rounded answer, the answer I get in my calculator. And remember, this is important to note. Your calculator doesn't do sig figs for you. So when I'm done multiplying these, my calculator spits out this. That is not my final answer. That's my pre-rounded answer. I now have to adjust it to match 2 sig figs. So I look here and say 1, 2. Before I chop it off, I look just at the neighbor. And if that's a 5 or higher, I round up. It's a 1, so I stay at 22 meters. Okay, for 2 sig figs. Again, please make sure you're writing those total counted at the top. And our last and final example here is, if Miss B can find it, here we are. Example 3. Again, we'll cover up that answer and take a look here. Here are my 2 measurements. I count total, so start from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. 1, 2, 3 sig figs. Meters and meters. Notice again, right, that we are, oh, that was not supposed to say subtracting. Oops, oops, oops. Miss B messed up. let's forget that one and go to the board here. Let's do a dividing one. So let's do, here we'll take it kind of easy. 10 divided by 2. I hope you can see me. Let me get myself a better marker here. 10 divided by 2. And let's make sure these are measurements, so I'll put some units. And we'll do a meter squared over a meter. Okay. So 10 divided by 2, well, I clearly know 10 divided by 2 is 5, but how many sig figs? I look at 10, no decimal anywhere in the number, so a trailing 0 is not significant, so 1 sig fig. I look at 2, I'm dividing it by 2, and I say non-zero digits are significant, so 1 sig fig. So my answer is going to be 1 sig fig right there. Meter squared divided by meters. Well, let's take a look at that over here on the side. Meter squared divided by a meter. Think about math class. I have a meter on the bottom, and I can cancel out with one of the meters on top. So I'm still left with 1 meter on top, so that's 5 meters is my answer. So whether you're dividing or multiplying, remember your answer has to have the same number of sig figs as the measurement with the fewest total counted. Total counted. Don't just look at decimal places. That's not this rule. Also, remember that if you need to round, round. Okay, good. That's the end of the video.